I'm having one of my crazy nights in the garage tonight. I've got these, which are old-fashioned gutter clips. They're holding the old-fashioned heavy asbestos gutters onto old houses. I got this. What can I do with this? And then I've had something hanging for a while, which I thought, you see what it is yet? Just cut down a link so the two halves go together and it stays nice and tight. Just going to stick the chain in a bit of citric acid. And to make sure, obviously it's nice and clean, but also that I've got a good surface for welding on, so I'll need nice strong welds. So I'm going to dunk them in there. I'll check it in a day or two. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Chain soup. Measured down from the corner, chopped it off, and then measured down 5 centimeters to here, and then made it nice and pointy. So when I fold it back into the shape of that, I get a nice cool spiky arm. Nice and spiky. Quarter to 2 in the morning. Check it out. Ow, 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 ow. It's hot. I'm part way through cutting the centrepiece out of the old cutting disc, and I'm using a slitting disc on my angle grinder. And it's barely touching it. It's really hard work getting through there. I'm not sure if you can see all the little bits of splatter, so a bit of a pain in the backside job having to clean all this splatter off with a Dremel. Otherwise it'll feel pretty nasty on your hand. In fact, it does feel nasty now. You get caught on one. So, next hour in the garage, splatter cleaning session. I've decided to go with a universal boss to attach the steering wheel to. Reason being I can swap it for large and small splines depending on which car it's going on. So I've got to centralise it onto my centre plate. To do that I've actually put a ratchet extension through the middle there, so just by chance it fits the whole of the saw blade and the splines quite nicely, so there's only a small amount of movement in there. I am doing it by eye because I can't really use the outside edge because that was kind of done by eye to some extent as well. But luckily the pre-machined holes on there make it easy to eyeball it, so the gap on the mole's pretty similar. So all being well, I'm going to mark the holes now, drill that for some Allen heads to go through, and then we'll look at constructing the rest of the wheel. All drilled, pretty happy with that. And so I'm probably going to have to clearance the boss a little bit at the back because the nuts don't easily fit, but apart from that, I'm pretty chuffed. I've just started mocking it up, and I wanted to make sure that I get it nice and symmetrical, really. So I did see a couple of people make steering wheels on videos I searched for before I started mine, and they just freehanded it. So the chain, they didn't seem to straighten out, so it's all the same way. They just freehanded the circle on one of them. It was just, I say, it must have been like a banana. And when you're driving a car, you don't want your steering wheel all over the place, so I've done my very best to make sure it's a perfect circle, or as best I can make it. And obviously when I put the central part on, I want to make sure that's central as well, otherwise it's going to be doing that as I turn the steering wheel. I bet that's pretty rubbish to drive with. So what I've done is I've got the best circle I can around the inside of the steering wheel. I then measured the central point, which worked out about 2mm difference between the lines, so 2mm out. So from what I've got reference point wise, it seems pretty good to me. I should be okay with a couple of mil, I hope. So I've now got the central point, which is off in the centre there. We're going to start mocking up the arms. It's going to go something like that. That's going to be awesome. So the next stage is to trim the arms down. So these parts at the end need to go, so it's going to get cut across here basically. This part will probably be straightened out, so I'll hammer it flat so it continues the curve. And I'm hoping they're going to go behind. In fact, saying that, I may not even take that curve off, I'll try it without first. But they're going to go behind the actual central plate, all being well, and be welded on. And then it should bolt through the centre part at the bottom there, and then all the rest, hopefully all of the bolt holes miss. Just trying to make sure that the central part is parallel to the chain wheel itself, because it doesn't look it. It's a bit of an optical illusion. But that's 68mm. It's all about 68mm. So even though it doesn't look right, it is. So all I've done is basically trim little bits off the bottom of the legs on both sides just to level it out, and tacked on the third one to start. Check it out. I'm really happy with that. I think it looks absolutely awesome, if I do say so myself. So this is kind of going to be a build video. So what I've done on this one is obviously build the steering wheel, but it's not quite finished. So there's a couple of things I wanted to do to it. Now initially I was planning to nickel plate it, which gives you, if you nickel and tin, you get like a shiny 10p piece finish. So it's a bright silver, but it's not chrome. But it's as bright as you could get with DIY stuff really in the garage. That didn't quite work out. So I've done a video which I'll release after this one and show you why. It's a good process if you want to cover things like washers and body pan washers, stuff like that, to make them blingy. But say if you watch the video, which will probably be the week after this one, you'll see why I'm not going the nickel plating route. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it as it is now, because I quite like the brushed steel look. So I'm going to clear coat the centre and keep that kind of as it is, which is reflects the light really well. However, the chain, I want a copper plate. So I'm going to plate it in copper, I'm going to buff it up so it's nice and shiny, or at least the parts that you can get to are nice and shiny, so there will be a two-tone texture to it still, just like it is now, but obviously more coppery. And then I'm going to clear coat the whole thing again to protect it, and then we'll pop it on the car and see what it looks like when it's in place. My brown car, copper and brown goes together quite well, so I'm thinking it'll look pretty good. Cheers guys.